But first, Renfield. Longtime watchers will remember this movie because we spoke about it the day it was announced, and all of us were really excited about the prospect of Nicolas Cage as Dracula. We didn't know exactly which direction they were going to take. Obviously, it was going to be told from the point of view of Renfield, whose role has been slightly different depending on exactly which version of Dracula you are referring to. So there was like some doubt about that. But now, having seen the movie, we all know that it was referencing the 1931 Universal Dracula, the classic Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Dracula that many will be familiar with, and this was the modern day soft sequel, if you will, to that. And it opened this weekend. And Mr. Chato, the one that actually has some Dracula blood in his
Yeah,
lineage here.
again.
Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen it, but I will be seeing it as soon as I can. But I can only see it in the dark. I can't go in the daytime.
Listen to them, the children of the night.
That's right.
That is
I am looking forward to this. I had birthday celebrations and I couldn't go,
yeah, no, that is
and my
understandable.
back was still
Mr. Gore, I look forward to hearing your extended analysis. But before then, culture. Let's hear your thoughts on Renfield.
It's a dumb fun film, and I don't understand how it only made 7.7 million domestic in opening. I don't understand how it flopped. My theater was half full. I don't. It doesn't make any sense. Nick Cage does a great job being not Nick Cage for a change.
No, he's pretty much playing Lugosi's Dracula, only intensified.
It's one of those weird things. I don't understand. It's not like it was in an empty theater. I've been to movies recently in an empty theater, or the theater I was in had more people in it to see Renfield on a Sunday than the D&D movie did on late afternoon Thursday show. So it made no sense. And like I said, I mean, Nicholas Hoult, that's his name, right? No,
Yes,
is that right?
that's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, he actually impressed me in this film. So, and I said this during my own review, which I put out this morning, but Aquafina was actually tolerable in this film, which I didn't think was possible.
wow.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So
How'd that happen?
I don't know.
And she played a completely different character, right?
Well, she did actually. She did not. She
Yeah.
didn't play. She did not play her goofy,
Really?
sidekick role. No.
So her fake hood language.
Yeah,
that's gone.
No black scent at all. Yeah, no. And she actually, interestingly enough, and again, I mean, she would have been the first thing I'd have point a finger at. But there's some marginal lean towards some intersectionality, but it's not. It's not. What's really strange. It was really not agenda driven for the most part, and it was rather enjoyable. And let's call it an interesting team up film. Now, I'm not going to rate it in my 5-star system as a 5 or even a 4, but I'm going to say that this is a dumb fun film that you could go see in theaters and only waste 90 minutes of your time in a positive way, or you wait for it on streaming. But unfortunately, this is going to hit streaming way faster than it should.
Absolutely. I just want to disagree with you that it's dumb fun. It is fun, but I don't think it was anything but dumb. Like, no, this was a really clever movie. I was impressed by the thematics of it, because the movie is about, now I don't want to say the term here, like it's very clear in the trailer. It's about relationships of the toxic kind, and of the person who uses the app, and the victim who is actually something of an enabler. I think this is a really important message that is really uncommunicated. This is something that many people suffer with out there, and there should be more movies with a kind of message like this one has. So just thematically, this movie gets my top grading. And on top of that, it was sheer dumb fun without being dumb. Tom, your mini review before we let Chris rip into it.
Yeah, no, I am more along the lines of you, Andre. I found it very clever. I think that a lot of people are reading more into the trailers and what this movie is than actually seeing it, because I've seen a lot of the people that are like dumping on it are like, I have no interest in it. They turn Renfield into a soy cuck and he eats bugs, going off of like the political movement. It's like, no, wait, time out. First of all, you're just showing me you have no idea who Renfield from the original Dracula is, because that's the whole thing, is he eats bugs.
Yeah. Though to be fair, I can see how people can get.
I totally can.
Out of it, it's unfortunate
I totally can.
with the timing. This movie came out 10 years too late. If this movie had come out 10 years ago, it would have been exactly the same.
Oh yeah, this would have been perfectly timed.
That into it.
What was that? Horrible Bosses or whatever that movie was. Like, this would have been perfect for that kind of a period of time.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the matter of timing, where you have someone that wants us all to eat their bugs, but in this particular case, it's actually very consistent with what they're adapting.
And it's not just bugs either, because he eats other things too along the way. But like, not to get too spoilery, but like, it's just a matter of like, it totally pays loving homage to the original Universal Dracula. Like you kind of just said, and we said before, he is basically playing that version. Like, everybody knows who Dracula is in this world, but basically the way they're setting it up is the Bela Lugosi movie is the movie version of the real guys. Right? Like, and Renfield is perfect. Like, Nicholas Hoult nailed this. I even love that he had the little laugh from, the Lugosi Dracula and everything. I loved it. I chewed up all the little Easter eggs. I didn't get any, message problems with it as far as like modern messaging outside of, be your own man kind of a thing. So a lot of things that people are feeding into it is what I was trying to say is they're not there, or that's kind of what the movie's about, is Renfield becoming his own man, right? Like that's the point of the film. And Dracula isn't nerfed in any way. He's still a very, villain. He's a villain. He's Dracula. Like, they didn't change him at all. He's not played for any laughs in a sense of outside of certain absurdity moments. But I mean, he is taking it completely seriously, right? Renfield is played completely seriously. The Awkwafina character is also played completely seriously, and that's why the movie works.
Yeah, and Cage as Dracula is up there with the best of them. Mr. Gore, take it away. Renfield.
I thought it was super fun. Reminded me a little bit of Kick-Ass in the sort of ultra-violent comedy aspect. And I agree with you, Andre. There are deeper you can say it's dumb, but there are other layers to it. It's about confronting codependency in a relationship, and how do you leave a relationship that's codependent, especially when that person is Dracula. So that aspect is funny, and it also like just makes the film a little bit more meaningful. But also, if you don't pay attention to it, it doesn't matter, because it's there if you're looking for it, and if not, fine. I think anyone saying that like, oh, all the sort of reading into that there's more to it than there is, I think is just, it's a product of just modern movies in general. I think we're hypersensitive to stuff that, we've come to despise, frankly. But also, I think Awkwafina is only capable of playing Awkwafina in a movie. She was so not convincing as a cop. And she's a cop, but in this district in this department that is completely corrupt by drug dealers. They're kind of owned by the drug dealers, and Awkwafina has this vendetta and is a good cop in a precinct where they're all corrupt. And I just didn't buy her as a cop. And unless you look at like modern cops today, I don't know if you've seen a lot of videos of modern policing where certain types of police officers are, I would describe as pushovers in certain altercations. And Awkwafina strikes me as that. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. I think that she's very funny as a side character when she has little screen time. When she is given more screen time, unfortunately, she just doesn't hold up. Like, she was fine in Crazy Rich Asians because she was a wacky sidekick. but everything else I've seen her in, they're just, Awkwafina is so great. Give her more screen time. That's not the point. She's really good in small doses, but I think it's almost like she's in a different movie.
Like fentanyl.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she's doing a different comedy movie when she makes that Postmates joke. That's not based on the circumstances. I think that there might have just been maybe even a better joke or a more serious comment that would have been counter to that. But like, it just, I don't know. I found her to be the weakest part of the film for me. And the thing is this, I'm saying I like her. I like Awkwafina, and she's the weakest part of the movie. So, but having said that, Nick Cage just nails it. I mean, give him more screen time, in my opinion. Those teeth are just weird. And also Nicolas Cage, Nicolas Cage is a genre of film. Okay. Nicolas Cage could have his own streaming service of only Nicolas Cage movies. That's how good Nicolas Cage is. He's so entertaining. He infuses him, just like everything about a role, he just infuses it with full Nick Cage. Like, I'm going to go full Nick Cage being Dracula, this version of Dracula that's over the top and violent and brutal and just murders people without a thought. And the other thing is, there's a guy who is on that show Parks and Rec, and God, I forget his name. He was the son. He was the drug dealer's son.
Yeah, he was good too. I can't remember his name either, but yeah.
I forget the actor's name, but I really like him. I thought he was funny. I thought he was really good as this, annoying heavy, but like he worked.
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz, yeah, I really like him a lot. Doesn't he do the voice of Sonic? I believe
so. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's got a improv show on Netflix.
Yeah, and he does indeed do the voice of Sonic. I tried to say, but I was muted. He also did like one of the voices in like that DuckTales reboot.
He's a very funny guy.
But yeah, so the voice of Sonic, he's the bad guy. He's like the like if you think back to the first John Wick, that dude that killed John Wick's dog, he's the equivalent of that character.
Yeah. I really like him, and he was great. So it's super fun. I saw it with a packed audience, and I will say it is more fun with a packed audience. But is this the greatest movie ever? No. But look, if I go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, I couldn't eat there every day. Sometimes you just need some In-N-Out burger, and this is a great In-N-Out burger of entertainment. It's fun, and I had a good time with a packed audience.
Yeah.
And so there you go. I'd recommend it. It's going to go, unfortunately, because the box office did not perform well. I mean, you're going to see it in a month on streaming, and you're going to go, "Hey, that was fun. I enjoyed it."
I think a lot of people will be surprised. Yeah, sorry.
And Nicholas Hoult, very underrated. It's funny because he's been doing the round of interviews and talked about how he missed out on some big roles. He auditioned for Top Gun Maverick. He auditioned for New Mission Impossible. He auditioned for Batman, lost out to Robert Pattinson.
Not only did he lose out, according to what we heard, he was actually director Matt Reeves' first choice. It was a studio mandate that they go with Robert Pattinson because they wanted the Twilight crowd.
I didn't know that.
And I can well believe that.
This guy would have been way better.
Yeah, exactly. Like this guy, this was Matt Reeves' choice. He also was pretty amazing in Warm Bodies, and for anyone out there who liked the happening with like the what's her face again, the actress, like the one who was the first in everything.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, Jennifer
Thank
Lawrence.
you,
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence. Like all of her nude pictures, they were for him.
Well, after seeing this, I'm convinced like Reeves was right and Warner Brothers was wrong. This kid, especially if he'd have bulked up a little bit, would have been perfect. Going through the transformation he does here,
he would have been great. I think he would have been a better Bruce Wayne. I don't know what I like Pattinson as Batman. I think he did fine as Bruce Wayne. I don't know what he was doing. Goth kid who goes to Hot Topic too much. I don't know what the take was, but no, I Nicholas Hoult, underrated for sure actor.
Yeah, well, I mean, just from a Jekyll and Hyde thing. Anyone who heard Batman and then heard Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, they'd go, "Aren't you Batman?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
you sound just like Batman." Oh
Yeah.
no, I don't. Oh, I do not.
I think Nicholas Hoult would have been really good. Who knows? Maybe he'll be in the DC universe. You know, he was in the X-Men movies. So
Yeah,
I think if Pattison had created a different Bruce Wayne, even slightly different, it would have been good.
yeah, made it like what was interesting on Christian Bale's take for Bruce Wayne is he acted like he tried to be, you know, outrageous and stupid as a deflection,
Right.
you know, and it worked. So there you go.
Yeah, that's what we need for Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But like Culture, I'm confused by the lack of box office for this film because I
Well-
mean, granted, we have Mario up, but he didn't go to an empty screening. I had a hard time finding a screening.
I
don't
think
get
I
it.
know a reason, because this movie right here, it was really maximum unfortunate, because if this was the only horror-ish movie that had opened this weekend, I think it would have done much better. But
Yeah.
it opened on the same weekend as The Pope's Exorcist, which I also saw this weekend, as a matter of
Well,
fact.
I was going to say, I was reminded by Bramable that, yeah, a couple other horror movies are out right now, which I don't think Pope's Exorcist opened here this week. I think that opened last week here, but you saw that too. So what did you think of that?
I liked it. I think that the actors were absolutely fantastic in it. Mr. Gladiator, he's so good as an Italian. He really, really is. Absolutely nailed it. It was a great movie. There was only one thing about it that I didn't like. It had too high a budget. And the reason I'm serious. The reason it had too high a budget is because they had too much money to burn in visual effects towards the end. Because the final exorcism and stuff like that is not good for a while there, but it denigrates and devolves into this CGI shitfest.
It's a Marvel ending.
With more portals to hell and everything flying and everything like this. Stuff that the movie honestly would have been better off without, because it just like it would have fit better in a Marvel movie, all the stuff that was there towards the end. So this is something that I felt was to the movie's detriment. It had too high a budget. It would have been far better if you had like an Ike Perlmutter like producer that went in and read the script and said, "You don't need this, so I'm going to cut $5 million from the budget, now make it you." And the movie would have been better off for it, because then they would have to find some other more inventive way of shooting to get across what they wanted without having to resort to, I was about to say cheap CGI, but it was expensive CGI, but it was something that meant that they could go cheap when it came to creativity. They could just like show it visually with CGI shitfest in screen, rather than to imply it, which they did in the original Exorcist and most of the like Conjuring movies and stuff like that. They too, although they had the budgets, the only one that used too much budget was The Nun, which had the same problem. It was like too much like hellish stuff like that in it.
Well, let me ask you guys, because I was thinking about this last night, because I think part of it was, besides the dilution of the audience between Nefarious, Pope's Exorcist, and Renfield right there, because the horror audience is loyal. They will go see a genre film, you know, just about any time of the year. But I think that may be what partially happened, is that they're all spread out among those three films. And then I think a lot of people are correct in saying that they should have held this off till October. And not only that, I wonder, should they have done this, Chris? I especially want to hear your take on this. I wonder if they shouldn't have done this as a PG-13 in the theater and released an unrated version on video. Because I'll tell you what, I think it might have played better to a little bit teenage, younger audience. Because with the theater I come out, there was a guy that come out just before us and said, "Man, I wished I'd have known that was R-rated." And I look over and he's got like a kid with him. He's like, "Yeah, he's 9." And the kid's just like, "I loved it." He was like, "Yeah, I bet you did." And I said to the dad, I'm like, well, it could be worse. There's a lot worse stuff out there. At least a lot of this was like fantasy and over the top and whatever. He's like, yeah, I don't feel so bad. He's like, but I really wished I'd have known. He goes, but like the way they advertised it, and that's what it got me to thinking. I'm like, I wonder if they would have aimed it a little bit more towards the, 13, 14-year-old boy audience. They might have done better, perhaps. But
I 100% agree. Should have been there. They could have cut it down, done an R-rated version, and released during Halloween. They kind of blew it on the release, sandwiched between like Mario and all these bigger movies.
Because really, outside of the gore, nothing in the movie constitutes it being rated R. There's a few F words and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, like,
I think the marketing of this was wrong. It sounded to me just an upscale version of Leslie Nielsen with vampire teeth.
Yes,
kind of, but it's not that type of satire like we were talking
about. No,
night.
But I'm saying the trailer looked like another version of the Leslie Nielsen doing vampire shtick.
Yeah, like Love at First Bite or something.
Yeah.
It's more along that lines than Dracula Dead and Loving It, but yes, like it's more of a takeoff on it, but yeah.
And then the other thing that Script Doctor and I were talking about, which we talked about with you, Tom, is that has the Dracula trope dried up in the same way that Vietnam movie tropes are now gone. Like things pass. And I don't think anyone in the 18 to 35 range is interested in Dracula per se. Yeah, there's lots of vampires.
Well, they better hope so, because before this movie, they had a trailer for a serious Dracula movie, and I knew it was a Dracula movie just from watching the trailer.
Really? Which one?
That is the one about the boat. It's all about the voyage from.
Like the last voyage of the Detmer. Or
that's what it is.
I think Dracula has run his course. Like they tried The Mummy with Tom Cruise. There's just things that pass by, and these days, things pass by even faster.
I mean, granted, we haven't had what you would consider a hit Dracula film probably since Bram Stoker's Dracula. Don't get me wrong.
The Diary, or was the other one with Tom Cruise as?
That was Interview with a Vampire. But as far as straight up, they've tried Dracula a few times. We've had Dracula Untold. We've had Van Helsing and some other films. Of course, those are already now 15, 20 years old. But I mean,
the thing about the Living Dead stuff is that there's a certain apocalyptic reality that you can enjoy, but Dracula. That's old school.
Yeah, but still, Dracula is going to come, and Dracula will never go away. And there's a simple reason, because there's been a while since like a high-profile, big-budget Dracula movie. Haven't been too many of those, but of like smaller budget stuff. Or TV series adaptation.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Dracula every couple of years.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then you had Dario Argento's Dracula like a decade ago.
Yep.
You had BBC's Dracula a few years back. I mean, those things come all the time, because Dracula is a named brand that is copyright free. The only thing that's copyrighted is the particular Bela Lugosi iteration of Dracula. Just like Frankenstein's makeup in the Universal movies, that is copyrighted. Anyone can make Frankenstein.
It won't be for too much longer, but yeah, John Durham, though, they are bringing back Blackula. They're remaking it, just so you know. But I heard it's going to have a lot of modern...
With Tyler Perry.
I had heard I don't know about Tyler Perry, but like I had heard it's going to have a BLM. It's going to have a BLM kind of.
Yeah, I would watch it if Tyler Perry was Blackula. I'd watch it.
I'd probably watch that rather than what they're probably coming up with. Yes,
probably.
But no, I enjoyed Renfield. I wish more people would have got to have seen it. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts about that, because we got to move into
there's a funny coincidence here, because Toxic Waltz points out that Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is filming in Prague right now, starring Nicholas Hoult. And you know what the funny
wow.
He's not playing Renfield, because Renfield was changed in the 1931 movie, but he is playing Harker, I believe, which is the same role as Renfield. So he's kind of like playing the same role again.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, there was only a few minor quibbles I had with the film overall, and when we talk, I can't really get into them without talking spoilers, so I'm curious what you guys felt about them too, but Yeah, there's only like 2 real minor quibbles. One of them I can chalk up to, okay, I can see why they did it that way, just to get the movie moving faster, because otherwise if they'd have done it the other way, it would have taken an extra 10, 15 minutes of the film, which by the end of the film, when you're like in and out in 90 minutes, you're like, damn, it's refreshing to see a movie that's not 2.5 hours long for
my God,
once.
tell me about it. I saw Bo
Oh
is
my
Afraid.
God.
3 hours.
So what? What did you see?
Bo is Afraid.
Oh,
It opens wide this week. It was only in 4 theaters this weekend. We should talk about that maybe next week.
Well, you know what? That's funny you mentioned that, Chris, because they really tried to sell that up like it's going to be some, amazing film that everybody should see.
Because it's A24 and it's Ari Aster and he did Hereditary,
right?
And Midsummer, and I think we should save it for next week so I can actually talk spoilers. It's only in.
Sounds good.
We'll talk about it next week. First, I just want to say once again, like how hilarious it is, because I just went and checked the name of the character, and yes, Nicholas Hoult in the upcoming Nosferatu remake, he will be playing the character of Hutter. Hutter is the workaround copyright of Jonathan Harker, and Harker is the character that was reworked by Universal into Renfield, the lawyer that went to Transylvania to sell the London-based castle to Dracula, and only to become his servant. So he's literally playing the exact same role as in Renfield, only a completely different take from a completely different director. And what is so cool about that is that it's kind of going to be like, here you get to see what one actor can do with 2 different directors taking on the exact same role, because it is the same role.
Well, and it's almost like a prequel of sorts too, because that was my only other issue with the film is something that has to do with the character himself and his past. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what it was in the original film. So I'm not even sure why they added that. But again, like the 2 gripes I had nothing to do with anything being woke or anything like that. So that's a plus,
Yeah. But let's move on from the Renfield discussion. I think that all of us can agree, with the possible exception of culture, which is fine because we're allowed to have different opinion, that Renfield was actually a really fun and thematically a pretty decent movie, and don't read too much into eats bugs. Because that
that would be a silly take, the eats the bugs things. But no, and I'm going to defend myself. All I said was it's a dumb, fun film. You didn't agree with the characterization of dumb, and there is some dumb in this film, guys. So,
absolutely. I see where you're coming from, but thematically, I was like, whoa, there's something to this.
And the best part is they saved some of the laughs for the actual film. They don't put all the great stuff in the trailer like some movies do.
This is true. And, that's the thing that things suffer from now. And that's why I'm really worried. And I know we'll get into this later for future releases in Marvel's cinematic universe. But I know that's later on this show. So,
yeah. And don't be turned off by the idea of Renfield being cucked out or anything like that. Because like I said, that's kind of the whole point of the film is him, claiming his manhood. And in no way is Dracula nerfed. I seen some other people worried about that.
No,
they're not making fun of Dracula. He is a straight up villain still. Like I said, he is, if anything, they took the idea of what Bela Lugosi's Dracula was and added more to it, like as far as like horror.
They added some Nicolas Cage to it.
Yeah, but Nicolas Cage is chewing more scenery here than he is next, in a glorious way.
Let's be serious. Bela Lugosi was a terrible actor.
Well, in that sense, but I mean, he is the quintessential Dracula, right? But like, that's the thing is Nicolas Cage takes his essence.
They couldn't get Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Well, Nicolas Cage takes his essence and just runs with it, right? Like it's, like I said, it's like if that movie was kind of like the movie version of the real deal, these guys are the real deal. And you see how real evil Dracula can be, basically. And some of the makeup effects in this are amazing.
That was one of some of my best part when we basically get to see, the reality of being Dracula in the 21st century. I love that. But let's move on from Dracula and Renfield. Let's do a couple of more super